Hey, I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? Yo, I have had 22 minutes to talk to my next guest, and I figured that we should start the interview about now. But we've been talking about a whole bunch of different things, and I'm so glad that Bryan is here with us. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Bryan Taylor, the author, and also recuperating. So he's got his little dog with him because that's his baby. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Yaya. I'm actually been having such a great time pre-recording with you as well. So
I love it. I love it. So tell me about yourself. I mean, were you thrown into it? Were you accidentally writing and just figured you'd do it? Or did you know you were always going to do this?
it was weird because I'm, going back to when I was like 4 or 5, I had a regular childhood. And my mom had mental health problems, drink problems, and my biological father left her, and then she went, and I had, let's just say, many uncles over the years, and which meant I had to go into like foster care homes, and and I retreated into writing because of the abuse and things like that I went through at home and in foster care. And it's one of those things I always held on to. But when I eventually got back home and started living with my mom and my then stepfather, the abuse started, they're drinking, I would get beaten. So I would resort back to writing and escape. And that was I think there was escapism. It was the only way I could deal with reality was by making my own.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your own reality.
And I kept doing that for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
wow.
but like I said earlier, positivity, it's just because that was you then doesn't mean you have to be that person now.
Right.
Just because, you could be born rich and have the best life ever.
Right.
Or you could be born with money, have the worst life, and then become the person you want to become, and that's how I look at things. It's you treat, or the way my philosophy is, you treat people with kindness, love, dignity, and respect, and that's how I want to be treated. And that's how, when I meet new people, that's how I treat them. That's my 4 rules. That's it, and that's what I live by.
I hear you. I hear you. Definitely. A lot of people have told me that they use this method to actually come out of reality because they couldn't handle the reality that they were in. Yes. How has this alternate reality helped you in adulthood?
Well, when I got to my teenage years, the abuse just increased. I was never academic, ever. I was the class clown. I would much rather be stood outside the headmaster's office, getting into trouble than being in class. And for me, it was easier to be a douche. Can I say douche? To be a douche in class and get sent out than do the work. So, but then I'd go home, get a beating, retreat to writing. And that was the theme that I kind of went into. When I was stressed, I would write. And into my early adulthood, I worked in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was an armed civilian. I was doing all sorts of things out there. And even when I went home, my stepfather still thought it was good to lay his hands on me. So I would retreat back to writing. It was the norm for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when someone thinks that that's normal, it takes someone else to point it out to them. And it was pointed out to me that that's not normal. And then for me, the last straw, and I was writing for a whole year in 2006, and then my sister outed me to my mum and stepfather, and the abuse just got worse until I was man enough to step away. I'd met my partner by then, and he supported me. And my writing continued, and he said, now you need to refocus all that pain into you're writing because you don't have to put up with it anymore. So why don't you focus what you've learned and put it into this again? And that's how the books started, the series of books started. And it's taken me a long time to get them to where they are now. So I
Wow.
apologize if I went a long route around answer that
Oh, no,
question.
no.
Just like,
No, actually, that's, I mean, a lot of people are going through a lot of different things that aren't normal, and it's really good to point it out. I mean, that isn't normal. But what is your normal now is that you've been able to actually write down and come out of that. Did the writing help you to actually help your mental and your physical self heal from the
it,
abuse?
I think when you read the books, you can certainly see when I'm really angry because the chapter is a lot darker than it is light, and but I've been able to express in these 5 books, a lot of real moments, which, and I think that's the thing. If you want to be a writer, you can't just, I mean, anybody could be a writer, but you've got to tap into something real, some real emotion. And the more real emotion you add to a character or multiple characters, the more believable they're going to be because you can use those experiences that you've been through or witnessed other people go through and just give that character some believability, some realness. And
Wow.
that's what I've did. That's what I've done with some of these characters. And there's in one of the books, there's a real sad moment where in real life I lost a friend in Iraq, and I wrote this into the book. But different, it's in the future, different character, different person, different names, but some of the realness is there. That pain is on the page. And for me, if I can express it, I can breathe.
Yeah.
Because I'm not with my husband, I'm not very verbal.
Hmm.
I dwell, I sulk. At 40, I still sulk. I get moody,
I hear
right?
you. Uh-huh.
But when I write, it's out,
Right.
you know.
Wow. I
So
mean,
yeah,
that sounds like a wonderful release. I mean, but what if you didn't have this avenue? If you didn't write, I mean, for people who out there that don't believe that they have a way of writing it down, or they don't have a way to get rid of that tension, do you recommend writing?
I would recommend doing 2 things: writing, and as I have a friend that writes music, so he puts his thoughts and feelings into his music, like into his lyrics. And I would recommend you can do it in either way. I mean, everybody is born a writer. My grandma would say everybody is born with their own unique voice, their own unique opinion, and their own unique view on the world. That's what makes us individuals. That's what makes us different from everybody else. She said, but there's one thing everybody has in common. It's the voice, and it always needs to be heard. Everybody has an opinion. And everybody has a story. I have a story. You have a story. I'm guessing your husband or children and family have stories. It's, you don't get it right the first time. You never do. But you work at it, and you just put ideas down, and then you can write a paragraph and then leave it for a week, then go back, say, so that I want to add to that. It's, like, if you can fill a journal, a diary in, you can write.
Mm,
I mean, it's, am I the best writer? I don't know.
hmm.
For me, it was more therapeutic,
Gotcha.
and that, I mean, it, writing for me is, it's like a string
Uh-huh.
that there's a piece of me attached to every book,
Right.
and it's personal. And I know that people are either going to like them or they're going to hate them, but I won't take it personally because that feedback either way is positive.
Right.
Because if I get negative, oh, this wasn't great, I know next time I write a book, I know what to improve on.
Hmm.
And that's who I am as a person. That's what makes me unique. Is I think I can learn from criticism when everybody else will, be up in arms about it, will be angry. How dare you make this? Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and
Yeah.
I think there's not a lot left these days, is where people, especially in America, we should be heard. We should all be treated as equals, and we should all have our opinion and not be judged by it. And that's my view as a British man living out here. You know, just because we've got different colors of skin, just because we've got different nationalities, we all bleed the same. And that's
Yes.
something my grandma would say.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I live by. It's, you are who you are,
Yeah.
and that's all.
Yeah.
And like, you know, again, I went round the to answer your question. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I like to get the insight of all of the questions because everybody has something different to say, and it's just a wonderful thing to kind of go through the thought process with you on how you deem things. And you're right, I mean, we should all be treated equal. We should. And we should all be treated with respect and love.
And
But that doesn't happen all the time,
this doesn't
especially,
even
you know?
relate to my books. I moved out
Right.
here in 2012 with my husband,
Hmm.
and we moved to Maryland, DC area, Greenbelt, old Greenbelt originally. Then we moved into DC, and it broke my heart because the segregation out here is still real. And I come from a country that we're a multicultural country, and it broke my heart to see the segregation that I hadn't seen on TV, because you don't see it on TV. You got to live it. You got to witness it. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine a few months back, and he's a white guy, and and we're watching TV, and something came up on the news about the N-word being used. And I'm a firm believer that the N-word should be used, not by white people, and I said to him, the only reason why white people feel uncomfortable with the N-word is because it was word that we invented to bring down another culture, another race. That's why we hate it, and we don't want to be reminded about it. And he got upset with me. And I said, you know something? The N-word, if anything, has to be redefined.
Hmm.
It has to be redefined in the dictionary and be okay to use, not by, again, white people, but it should mean strength,
Yeah.
dignity, respect, and resilience.
Mm.
Because there won't be an America without
No,
African Americans. I'm sorry.
no,
And he got
well,
upset with me, and now we don't talk.
no,
Because, again, people's opinions matter. Whether they like it or not, it doesn't matter. Whether that person likes it doesn't matter. But that's my opinion, and I'm
wow.
sorry if I went
No,
off on
no,
my soapbox.
no, you're fine. It's fine. I truly believe, and a lot of people don't realize that over here in the United States, there is a big segregation, but it all does depend on where you live as well, because there's other communities. Like I live in Sarasota, which is a very multicultural place in Florida. Everybody's here. You got, I mean, from all nationalities.
Yeah,
Nobody really cares, too much what you look like, who you are, what color you are. But then you have those far few and in between. So for every one person that doesn't like you because of the color of your skin, regardless of whether you're a nice person or not, whether
yeah,
you're black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight, it don't matter. They just don't like you because you're different than they
yeah,
are. You got 20 to 30 people who love you.
yeah. And out here at DC, I mean, me and my husband, of all places, we chose a place called Trinidad in Northeast DC, which was 6 years before we moved there. We were informed by the local police officer it was gated to the point where there was police on checkpoints. If you didn't live there, you weren't allowed in the neighborhood. That's what we were told. And we were the first white, gay British men to move into that neighborhood.
And who was there?
It was an African American neighborhood. It was
Oh, okay.
a predominantly black neighborhood. That whole area was, and there's a Gallaudet University a few blocks away, which was full of deaf students, black, white, Asian, every
Mm-hmm.
color, every what do you call it, nationality,
Mm-hmm.
deaf, hard of hearing, period. Everybody went there. And I was sat on the doorstep one day, and I know it's British. I used to sit out there in my smoking vest, and I used to smoke a pipe. Yeah. And I was in my mid-30s then. So I thought I looked cool, but the kids would call me grandpa, and there was about 4 or 5 kids, African-American kids, and they were playing like soccer on the road. And a police car drove past, stopped, stepped out an African-American police officer and a white officer, told the kids to step on the sidewalk because they wanted to question them because they matched the description of some youths that had been shoplifting from the store 2 blocks away. And then they were at the bottom of my steps, and I was watching this, and I said, officers, these kids have been here for the last hour. I've been watching them. They have nothing to do with any issues going on a few blocks away. And they told me to shut up. And so I got on my cell phone and I sent a text to one of these kids' mums, who was my neighbor. Said, hey, I don't know if I don't know if you've looked out the window. And she was out there within seconds, and the mums are coming out the other doors. I'm not going to sit there and let somebody.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah,
I don't suffer bullies. I don't know if it's because I grew up being bullied and abused.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand it in anybody else, happen to anybody else.
And it happens. And it happens. And I've had so many people tell me that that's just your imagination. No, it's reality.
And I think it is reality, and it's something, and it's really sad to say, it's something I've had to, is it the right word, get used to? I've been out here since 2012, seeing it.
Yeah.
And nobody should ever get used to that.
Nope. I agree.
And I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent.
No. And this really relates to what you went through growing up, because it's still, in fact, bullying. It's still, in fact, disrespect. It's still, in fact, abuse, conditioning. As a Black woman, I'm out there every day, and my husband has to tell me, don't speed, don't do this, make sure you're here at a certain time. I mean, why do I have to get that speech? I mean, I give that speech I give that speech to my son. You know where you live, this and that and the other. Don't ruffle any feathers. Be home by a certain time, And it's like, why do I have to give my kids, because of the skin, the color of their skin, not because they're good kids or bad kids, but just because they were born a color they couldn't control. Now I have to tell them how to live afraid.
I was going to say, because you sadly have to tell them how they might be looked at and spoken to, which can give them that they start growing an armor. That way they're prepared for it, and no kid should be like. I mean, the UK, we have our problems. We have idiots that go out there and say stupid stuff and do stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we have so many laws that prevent it now.
Yeah.
That America is highly, as high as it is in the world, being a leader of the free world, it's a little behind. And I do think we need. And when I say we, I mean everybody here. I mean, I'm a green card holder. I'm permanent resident here. I think everybody as a whole, white, Black, Asian, doesn't matter. Every color, every nationality, every sexuality should have an opinion on legislation out here. And it really just hacks me off when I see people that don't deserve to be disrespected. Be disrespected. And again, what it is, it's white people don't want to be reminded of dodgy stuff that was done by ancestors or people in the past, like the use of the N-word. We don't want to be, and that's what it is. That's why we don't like it. It's because every time it's used, we're being reminded of it. What atrocious things happened.
Wow. Well, you see this face?
Yes, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful face, right?
Yes.
You see the color?
Yeah.
It's dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 17% Irish.
But people won't see that.
No, they only see Black. I am European.
Mm-hmm.
I'm European. 7% white.
Right.
A percentage of my family is white from Scandinavia. From
Actually,
Scandinavia.
it's a beautiful country, and if you
It
have
is. It's
ancestors there,
beautiful.
you should go and
Been
visit.
there.
Yeah.
My ancestor, one of my ancestors was a slave owner. His name from Ireland was Lord Robert Dundas. You can
Oh,
study this.
wow.
So does that make me a duchess?
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Are people going to accept that this Black girl from the United States is a duchess?
Well, I think that's what kind of happened with Meghan and Harry.
Yeah.
And that's
They're not going to
another
accept it.
conversation for another time.
Yeah, they're not going to accept it. But what the conversation that I'm saying is there's so many different avenues of bullying
Yeah.
and people being unjustly pursued
Yeah.
and being oh, he's Black, he's got to be a part of it. Him.
Well, he matches
And
the description, what
he's
driving
a
whilst black,
lawyer.
yeah. It's but it shouldn't be like, and I think my point is, and I think your point is, society shouldn't be like that.
Right.
And I had a conversation with the same guy who's on the talk to me right now, because I offended him, because I pretty much told him he's an idiot. I said, why do we have to call African Americans the American?
Yes, thank
Why do
you.
we have to stipulate that thing at the beginning? The Americans, and they're more American than you are. They
Right.
built America. America
Then
won't be rich and wealthy without working on the back, and I'm sorry to use this word, of the slaves.
and every day that I look at my face, I see a conflict between all of my relatives.
But you know something?
And
You
here I
know,
am.
don't see a conflict. See that as a uniqueness. See that as that makes you you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my grandma would say things. It's, if we all looked the same, spoke the same,
Right.
we would be boring.
Right.
So that
Right.
makes you unique.
Yeah.
Your culture, your ancestorship, is I'm saying it
Yeah.
right?
I have
Makes
a
you
lot.
you. Yeah,
I
it
have a
makes you
lot.
you.
I have
That
I'm a lot.
there's a bit of every ancestor inside you. That's
Yes.
you.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, we are one people. We're a
Yeah.
human race.
Yeah.
We should love each other, but we don't, for whatever reason, may be so superficial. I
Yeah.
always say there are good people in the world, and then there's the
Bad people.
jerks.
Yeah. And
I don't like the jerks, and I love the good people, and that's just the way I live.
it's
In
funny.
your book,
I'm the guy who will always give that jerk a second chance.
mhm,
But third strike, I'm not interested. You leave me alone. You
I
leave my
got you.
family alone. I don't need you. I don't need that negativity. I don't need that
Mhm,
hate or that
exactly,
spite in my life. And
definitely.
I'm at 40 now. I'm at that crossroads with 2 whips. Oh, and 2 titanium discs in my neck as of last
Oh my
November.
gosh! Oh my
So I'm
gosh!
30% replaced in a way, right? And I don't need that. I'm
Yeah,
on that road to positivity and love and life.
definitely. And your books were a way for you to actually release all of that and be
Yeah,
on the path that you are on today.
yeah.
Without writing those books, I don't know where you would be.
I'd be lost. I mean, I had an alcohol problem.
Mm,
It was learned. My stepfather thought it was pretty good to drink a bottle and a half of scotch every night, and that's when he would get nasty. My mum had epilepsy. She had strokes, but she would still drink and take her medicine with alcohol, right? And she would pass out. He'd take her upstairs, and he would carry on drinking, and then that's when I get my beatings. It was part and parcel of who and then start writing, and then I started when I left home at 20, because I was still beaten up until I was 20, 21. I go home, you drinking. And when I was like 20, 21, I moved to London, started working out in London, and I started drinking. And I didn't know at the time that that was a problem.
mm,
I thought, oh, he drinks a bottle, I could drink a bottle. And I would work, go home, drink, pass out, get up in the morning, work, drink. And then my work, when my work took me to Iraq and Afghanistan, I started witnessing things, and I've seen people shot. I've been shot. I was in a roadside bomb in 2007.
Oh my God.
My vehicle, all I did was break an ankle, and I got a piece of shrapnel in my arm. That was it. I walked away from it when other people didn't. So I didn't realize what a toll that was taken on me, on my mind. And then when I met my husband, pre-meeting my husband, his mum would call me, see how I was doing, because my brother was dating his sister, and he used to be even drink, because she used to work as a drug alcohol nurse. She used to help people in rehabs and get better. And she went, "You've been drinking?" I went, "Yeah." Brian, promise me you won't drink anymore, please. And I was like, okay. And then I met Chris. I stopped slowing down. 15 years down the line now. We've been together 15 years, married for 6, maybe 7 years now. And if he watches this, he's gonna be angry that I can't remember the exact year, how many years. But I rarely drink now, and if I do, it's more like a couple of beers if it's like a social event.
That's
But
good.
I heavily drank whiskey. Oh, I was a mess. And these books, if I hadn't been writing these books, I think I'd still be in that
Wow.
thing. I would be alone, because he
Wow.
wouldn't have stayed with me if I was drinking, and I wouldn't be in America. I'd be some drunk in a halfway house somewhere, living off benefits, not giving back to society, and I'd be that mess. I'd be that, just a hunk of skin.
Wow. Well, what's the name of your books, and how can people check your books out?
So it's the Darkleich series, and you can find them on Amazon.com. And the first book is Darkleich, Man of War, and that's an introduction to him and the world I've created. And then we go off into a series of books where he's retired and he's now like a investigator working for the criminal retrieval unit. And he flies around the galaxy. He captures wanted criminals, brings them back to the United Alliance of the Interplanetary Worlds. He brings them back for like to be charged, blah blah blah. And so it's like a galactic police force, bounty hunter police force, bringing criminals, really bad people, to justice. And then you go to Darkleich Elegant Violence, Darkleich Beyond the Storm, Blood of Earth, and then what was that one? Cry of Fury. And you see Darkleich, she has PTSD, and you see him struggling at the end of the book of Man of War, and you see him struggling throughout the books. And by the time book 5 comes along, he's a bit older, he's a bit wiser, more cranky. And he's, accepted his fate, he's accepted his demons. And it's kind of like, it's what I've had to accept my demons, because they molded who I am. And in the books, you see how it's molded who Darkleich is as a person. There's a lot of realness in him, and it kind of gets attached to a character called Rhythm you meet in the second book. I'm not going to delve into him too much because it kind of gives away things, but there's like I think I could say this. There's like a father-son relationship where he's drawn to help this kid, and this kid's drawn to help him. And you see this mature, and then you see it degrade throughout the books, and it goes up and down like a father-son relationship.
Gotcha.
You see that, and then it's being released as an ebook. We're releasing it as a print on Amazon, and then we're going to see how it works out and take it step by step. I much rather I want honest reviews, not fake reviews. I want honest critique. Be like I said earlier, be positive or negative. You don't learn unless you receive it. And that's in a way, that's how the books relate. It's
awesome.
And again, it's about equality and unity at the end of the day. This is what these books represent. It's every species. I've created 25, 26 distinct species in these books, and only 15 of them are unified in the United Alliance of Interplanetary Worlds. And every species you can imagine, and every color, creed, subspecies, the unified, the united.
Yeah.
And I think that's what these books are really about. I've written 5 of them, and it's just about unities. Yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, it may be in space. Yeah, it may be this. It doesn't matter. I think
Right.
I think it stands alone in, like I said, equality and just love, and and I apologize if I went off of my soapbox. I'm not auditioning to be a politician. It's just, I think the world is what it is right now.
Definitely.
And it can
Yeah.
always be improved.
It can always be improved. We can always improve on ourselves. Definitely. I want to thank you so much, Bryan, for being on the show. Bryan Taylor, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And we're going to have his information in the description box below so that you can go check out the books for yourself. It might even help you to learn how to unleash your demons and open your closet up and go through those skeletons and start throwing some stuff away. Okay. Because literally life's too short and closets are very expensive.
Very expensive. And you don't want to end up with 2 fake titanium hips.
Exactly.
I can't dance no more.
Oh no, that's not a.
Well, I couldn't dance in the first place, but now I know I can't dance anymore. So
okay. Well,
thank you,
guys.
Yaya.
No problem. Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And don't forget to dare to be different. And don't forget to go and look at Bryan's books. We will be back. Don't you go anywhere. We have more interviews for you. Bryan, you got me, man. I'm telling you. All right, guys. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
I want to welcome you to Late Night with Yaya Diamond.